Let's jump right into this. Welcome to this explainer. If you're sitting on the board, you know you're making decisions every single meeting that literally impact real lives. But how do you know those decisions are rooted in a proven framework? Well, today, we're going to decode the exact system that makes all of that possible. ROMA, the foundational operating system running behind the scenes at Neighbor Impact.
I absolutely love this quote from Andrew Spreadsboro, the Deputy Executive Director. He says, ROMA won't always be front and center, but it's always operating in the background. Think about it kind of like your computer's operating system, right? You don't always see the complex lines of code while you're typing up a document, but that invisible framework powers absolutely every strategic direction and program review you handle. It's really the silent engine of your governance.
So, here's our roadmap for this briefing. We're going to cover the foundation of ROMA, the 4 questions driving impact, how we organize around national goals, the continuous improvement cycle, and finally, wrap up with your specific responsibilities. Our goal is to give you a clear mental model you can apply at every single meeting.
Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, the foundation of ROMA, or as I like to call it, the invisible engine.
First off, what exactly is ROMA? Well, it stands for Results-Oriented Management and Accountability. And what's really fascinating here is that this isn't just some optional bureaucratic red tape or, a trendy management philosophy we just decided to try out for fun. It's actually mandated by the federal CSBG Act. It's this rigorous structure for planning, delivering, and evaluating our work that was developed by the National Community Action Network, so it's literally baked into our primary federal funding relationships.
This right here perfectly illustrates the crucial pivot ROMA demands of us. On the one hand, you've got tracking activities, which is simply counting how many people we serve. But on the other hand, you're measuring results, asking what actually changes for those people. ROMA essentially forces us to shift away from just tallying up activities and makes us focus relentlessly on actual measurable results. It's the difference between saying, hey, we handed out 100 meals versus we reduced food insecurity in this specific neighborhood by 20%. Big difference, right?
All right, let's dive into the actual code. Section 2. 4 questions driving impact. If ROMA is the operating system, these questions are the core programming.
These questions should really be the compass for every conversation you have in the boardroom. The first 2 are, what does our community actually need right now, and what are the direct results of the programs we're providing in response? You see, we have to constantly assess our specific, localized community needs, while at the exact same time evaluating if our services are actually hitting the mark. It's a continuous balancing act.
Then we get to question 3. What has changed because of Neighbor Impact's work? Now, this is the ultimate impact question. It's exactly what our funders are asking, and honestly, more importantly, it's the lens through which you should view every single board report. We have to look past just the raw numbers and see the real transformation happening out there.
And the 4th question, how can we achieve better results? Because ROMA is a continuous improvement framework, right? It never just stops at the reporting phase. The data we collect continuously feeds right back into how we plan, how we operate, and how we innovate for the next cycle. It's always moving forward.
Let's step back for a second and look at the macro level with Section 3, organizing around national goals, the big picture.
I think it's incredibly empowering to realize that the work you do locally connects to this massive national effort. Every single program at Neighbor Impact maps directly to one or more of these 3 national community action goals: economic stability, healthy communities, and engagement. So whenever you sit down to review outcome data in those board reports, just remember that these 3 goals serve as the primary organizing framework behind all those spreadsheets. You're basically part of a nationwide movement.
Next up is Section 4, the continuous improvement cycle. Let's take a peek at the processing loop of this operating system.
This is how the engine actually turns. The ROMA cycle moves through 5 distinct stages. You start with assessment, where we figure out what the community needs. Then planning, where we strategize. Implementation, where we actually roll up our sleeves and do the work. Achievement, where we secure those client-level outcomes. And finally, evaluation, where we look at the agency data report to see how we actually did. It's a comprehensive end-to-end loop.
Now, let's move to this next concept, because this is where a lot of people tend to get tripped up. ROMA is not some neat, perfect, year-round linear cycle. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a multi-layered web. The crucial point to remember here is that multiple stages are always running at the exact same time across our various programs. While one program is in the planning phase, another one is being evaluated, and yet another is right smack in the middle of implementation. It's dynamic, it's overlapping, and it definitely requires you to be comfortable with juggling a few different timelines at once.
Which brings us right to Section 5, your responsibilities as board members.
The user interface. This is where you come in.
So how do you actively steer this powerful system? Well, you've got 4 core responsibilities. First up, ground the mission. Look, if an opportunity doesn't fit the mission, it simply isn't ours to do, period. Second, review agency data, but do it in the context of the outside world. Third, ask capacity questions, like, do we actually have the staff and the infrastructure to pull this new initiative off? And fourth, identify the change. It is absolutely essential for you to ask these tough governance questions about our true capacity and our real-world influence.
Let's look at how your work translates directly into action. On the input side of things, you synthesize vital information, stuff like the recent 2025 needs assessment, hard census data, and qualitative listening sessions. Then, on the output side, you take all those inputs to produce and approve these defining, agency-wide directions, like our 2026 to 2029 strategic plan. And you hold the agency accountable through the agency data report. You are literally the critical bridge between what the community says they need and the blueprint for how the agency responds.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with the single most important question you could possibly ask in your role. As you continue your vital work on this board, I want you to keep this provocative thought right at the forefront of your mind. What specifically changed because of our work? If you keep asking that question, you're going to ensure that the ROMA operating system isn't just running quietly in the background, but is actively defining and delivering real, tangible success for the community. Thanks for diving into this with me today. Keep asking those tough questions.